Welcome, fellow audio sorcerers, wizards, and gurus to my channel. I'm Dan Spencer, and I am the audio sorcerer. So this is the channel where I teach you how to perfect your recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So in today's video, we're talking about the Waves H Comp, which is a compressor plugin. Now, the cool thing about this plugin, as of today, August 27th, 2020, it is completely free. If you go to reasonstudios.com, you go to their shop section and put in their promo code, you can get it for free. And it comes in formats for every DAW, which is awesome. So I will put a link in the description below, and you can go out and get it for yourself. And in this tutorial, I'm going to let you guys hear what it sounds like on several different instruments, and then I'm also going to go over every parameter within the plugin so you know how to use it properly. But as always, before we get to the video, I do want to remind you guys that I offer mixing and mastering services. If you go to audiosorcerer.com, you can hear my samples, you can check out my rates, and then I also give 20% off to new customers. All you gotta do is sign up for the email list. And if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So with that being said, let's get to this tutorial. Alright, so here on my computer here, and inside of Pro Tools, I got the H-Comp compressor open here by Waves. So what I want to do first, as mentioned, is I want to go over all the different parameters in here so you know how to use the compressor properly. And then I'll let you hear it on a couple sounds. So the manual describes this compressor as a dynamics processor that combines the model behavior of transformers, tubes, and transistors together with the power and precision that only one plugin can provide. So you can almost look at this as a digital/analog hybrid compressor, and that's where I believe the hybrid name comes from, because if you see right here, you have this analog knob, and if you turn it off, well, then that's basically saying it's not analog anymore, and it's more of a digital compressor. Now, digital compressors are more about precision than they are about sound, and analog compressors add in whatever characteristic the plugin has, whether it be, like I mentioned before, like tube circuitry or circuits in general, stuff like that. It's going to have more character to your sound, which you may or may not want. It all depends on what instrument you are working with. So for the analog rotary knob here, again, off would be our digital compressor, more or less. And then you have 4 different characteristic modes, which are all a little bit different when it comes to the circuitry. And then down below, we have the ratio knob. And this is how many dBs of gain reduction you will get over the threshold level. So if we go over the threshold by 1 dB, this 3:1 ratio is going to knock it down 3 dB, if that makes sense. So ratios, I would say for most instruments we're working with today, are definitely going to be below 10. When you get to 10, that starts turning into a limiter, a lower level limiter. So we'll talk more about that when we set it. And then this punch knob down here is kind of cool. It's proprietary to this compressor. So if you start losing some of your transients, you can start turning up the punch knob, and it's going to help get you some of those back. And your attack time, this is how quickly the compressor reacts to the sound. The threshold, this is basically where you're starting to get your gain reduction. When you start bringing this down, when you start going negative, I know it kind of is the opposite of what you may think, but when you start going down, that's when you start getting the compressor to start kicking in and getting gain reduction. So this looks like it can go between 0 and -48. So the release knob over here is how long it takes for the compressor to let go of the sound. And there's a couple options in this compressor on how the release can work. We can manually set it using milliseconds here, or we can choose a BPM. It doesn't have to be the BPM of our song, which would be kind of odd, but you can manually set it to anything you want here. And then the host, that'll be synced up with your song. The song is 160 beats per minute. So I'm probably gonna actually leave it on that for this tutorial. And then above our release knob here, we have the mix knob. So the mix knob basically allows us to mix this in and turn it into like a parallel compressor, more or less. So this will have a combination of dry and wet sounds depending on how we set this knob. Now in my situation, I'll probably use it on 100% wet, but we'll see when we get to actually using it. And then our top right here is our output knob, and this is just their output gain. So that's pretty straightforward. And then these up here, this will show us our in level on the VU meter here. This will show us our gain reduction, and this will show us our output level. And this limiter button here will make sure that you are not going above the threshold of clipping. So that's a nice little button to have here. So I think we'll just leave it on. And that is pretty much all of the parameters with the plugin here. Of course, you have presets in your normal wave section here. If you go to load, you have all these presets here, and then you have some specific presets to specific engineers here also. So I don't think we're going to use any presets today. I think we'll just set this thing by what I think it should sound like, and we'll see what it can do. So we are going to start with a vocal track first. All right, so the vocal track we're using to test this out on is from a song called Stars by Overtime Winner. It is the song that I did in my mix series, so I have a playlist popping up on how to mix a song from start to finish. Check it out after this video if you have some time. So move this out of the way here. And I got the track sold up here, and I have removed the initial compressor that I had on it, which was a blue 1176. And we're going to try to get this compressor to sound, just as good, taking its place. So I'm going to bypass it, and let's just let you hear what it sounds like with no compression on it.
I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights.
Okay, so it sounds pretty good already, and the reason it sounds good already is because when they recorded it with some compression. So it doesn't need a ton of compression, it just needs some character, and we'll see what we can get out of this here. So for vocals here, we're going to do a ratio of about 4:1. And then we want to make sure we're getting a gain reduction of between -7 and -10. And I guess we're going to start on analog 2 and see what this sounds like. We'll probably make some adjustments to that. So I'm going to play the sound and make some adjustments to the overall compressor.
I'll take you wherever you want to go. Through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right. I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right. I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels
Cool. So that actually has some really great character with how I set this here. It kind of reminds me of the 1176, what we can get out of it. So let's actually hear it in the mix and see what we think.
I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights. You know I'll always care for you deeply. It's amazing how this feels so damn right. I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll hold you through the darkest of nights.
Cool. I think that sounds amazing. So I did pull back the mix knob a bit because I did feel like I had a little bit of over compression going on. You can kind of hear it on some of the words when I first started playing it. But right here, it's more transparent. So again, we did a 4:1 ratio. I thought analog 4 sounded great. Whatever it added some bit of saturation almost to the vocals that just it was like a sizzle that almost brought them just a smidge more forward, which is what I wanted. And then just a little bit of punch. Obviously, we want to smooth out vocals, but we still want the transients of the words to come through clearly and a little bit hard, especially on a pop punk song like this. And for my vocals, I do a relatively fast attack. I want to make sure that the initial part of the word gets through before the compressor kicks in, so it's not a super fast attack. So I would say medium to fast is how I set my compressor for vocals. And then again, we just left the release on the BPM, and I'm just doing this as an experiment. Normally I would set a release time, but I wanted to just use the BPM, and I thought it actually worked pretty well. And again, for our threshold here, that's how much gain reduction we're getting. So I told you I wanted between -7 and -10, and And we were pretty consistently right here, which is about -7. And then for some of the really loud words, we got up a little higher. So I think that's set perfectly. And then I felt like I lost a little bit of level. So I boosted this up about a dB, I think, dB and a half. And I think that sounds great for this song. If you guys want to copy these settings here, if you have this compressor for how you set your vocal, feel free to. The thing you only really gotta play with if you're going to use these settings is obviously the threshold knob to make sure you're getting the proper gain reduction, and then how much you want to mix it in. If you are getting some over compression. So let's actually move on to a guitar picking part now. I'll let you hear what it sounds like on that. All right, so I got this little guitar note part sold up here. Let me let you hear it without H comp on. So let's play it now. Okay, so that's the gist of it. It plays in the verse behind the vocals. It's actually a little bouncy right now. I kind of want to smooth it out. And what I was using before was an LA2A, which was great for it. That's a little bit more of a transparent compressor. It's almost like a leveler. So let's see if we can recreate something like that with this compressor. So I'm thinking we don't want a ton of ratio, a ton, meaning I don't want to set it really high. So I think 3-to-1 should be pretty good. We want to smooth out some of the punch in it, so I don't think we're going to add punch. We'll see. We'll leave the release on the host and see if that helps. And why don't we just play it and see what we'll do with it. Cool. I think that sounds pretty smooth there. Let's hear it in the mix and see if we need to do anything else with it.
I wish we could just lay here and watch the stars come out just for us and no one else around. I'll take you wherever. I wish we could just lay here and watch the stars come out just for us and no one else around.
Cool. So I think that sounds pretty good. And again, all we're trying to do is just kind of smooth it out so that it sounds less bouncy, because you had those high notes kind of just popping out at you. So this kind of made it so the low notes and the high notes were more even. And again, we just used a 3-to-1 ratio. I'm loving analog 4. I just think this adds something in, and I'm probably going to be using analog 4 if I use this compressor for almost everything. So you guys can use it to your taste. If you notice, like 3, I think, is the worst sounding one. 3 has this weird high hiss almost added into it. I really don't like it. And you get even a little bit of that from 2, but it's less drastic. Yeah, 4 just sounds amazing. So again, we did not add punch because I don't want it. We went to a similar attack time that we use on the vocals. And again, that's because I do want the transients to get through. It is a picking part. We don't want to smash it where it sounds all mushy. So this is a good setting for that. Our gain reduction was hitting up to about -5 and -6, more or less, which is fine for this part. Again, we're just trying to level it out. And I did do 100% wet for compression. And I felt like it actually got a little bit louder. I didn't turn down the compressor. I actually turned it down on the fader here. But this is a good kind of setting here for just leveling something out, how I did it here. So lastly, I want to use this compressor on the snare drum. So let's see what it sounds like with that. All right, so for the snare drum, we actually have 4 snares here, and they're going to a snare bus. And I put the H comp here, and it's going to replace the distressor compressor in our bus chain here. And let's give it a listen with this bypass, the H comp, and let you hear what it sounds like. Cool. So it sounds pretty good. We got a nice mixture of the stick hit to the head and the actual snares in the snare. So let's actually bypass this and start setting it. Cool. I think that sounds really good. I think we got just a little bit extra punch out of it, and that's kind of what the distressor was doing in place of this. So let's hear it in the mix and see what we think.
I wish we could just lay here and watch the stars come out just for us and no one else around. I'll take you wherever. I wish.
Cool. So it's got a really, really nice punch to it, and I really like how that's set. Again, we are using analog 4. A ratio of what I do about 2.3 here. I didn't need a ton of gain reduction on this since it is already pretty smooth. We did want some punch on this one here. I definitely want transients to get through on a snare drum, of course, of all instruments. And we did a slimmer attack setting to what we've already done so far, the vocals and that little note guitar part. And our threshold, we're not doing a massive amount of gain reduction. And it's also in sync with the release. So as you notice, before it even gets to the next snare hit, this is already back down to 0. So this is a really nice feature that this plugin has that not every compressor plugin does have. Again, we left the wet all the way up, and I didn't make any output adjustments. And I did leave the limiter on since the snare is hitting pretty hard here. So that's the H-Comp compressor by Waves. I hope by watching this tutorial you now know how to use all the parameters within it. I hope you have a better idea what it sounds like on specific instruments. And if you guys ended up liking this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to know I have new videos coming out. So until the next video, I'll see you guys later, and peace out.